Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command World War II, World at War, a turn-based grand strategy game that allows you to play through the Second World War as either the Allies or the Axis in 2-week turn increments. This is episode number 46 in our Let's Play series. The war is not going great in Europe. We've really run into a bit of a bottleneck in France. We landed in France early, made a lot of progress initially, but now we're kind of running up against a strong enemy force that's countering us. The Germans have way more units than we do overall. In Russia, the same scenario, although we have at least slowed the German offensive in front of Moscow. So far, we're still holding out. We're hopeful that maybe we can hold out for a little while longer, maybe even get into the winter of 43 and into 44, and continue to prolong this war. The longer we prolong it, the better. In Asia, things are going a little bit better. China is crumbling and will fall eventually, but at least in the case of Japan, things are somewhat hopeful there. Now, once China falls, India is vulnerable as well, which could be disastrous for other reasons. But my hope is that maybe we can land in Japan before that and stop the Japanese cold there, but I guess we'll see. With that being said, this was taken from a live stream from my channel from a couple of days ago. I'm going to go ahead and just turn it back over to my live stream myself. And we'll see what happens here. Moving into September, maybe we can get Moscow to last into the next winter and slow the Germans down more there. Because as soon as they turn all their strength against us, we're screwed. Meanwhile, Greek partisans doing their duty in Greece. Axis raiders are disrupting the Egyptian convoys and also the USSR convoys. The British have developed amphibious warfare level 2. Maybe that'll give us long-range transports. That would be great. Americans progress on advanced fighters, as well as command and control. So that research is helpful. I need to be investing in the U.S. economy as well. But I haven't had leftover money for a while because the war is in such dire straits, and that's really coming back to bite me. But, yeah. So let's see how this next turn goes. Germany continuing to advance. They're swinging toward Iran, but it may just be a move to tidy up the position in the Caucasus. Looks like they're pulling some troops back there. I'm assuming that's because they're going to bring more troops into France. I'm not sure. But you can see they just moved that unit east. This other unit here, which I think was battered a little bit, moved into Germany as well. I'm not sure where they'd be moving them to. I don't understand why they do that. Like, why would you pull your armored unit back? They seem to do that every turn where they pull some units off the front. I'm assuming they're going to replace other units further forward, but the units they're pulling back aren't hurt all that badly. Meanwhile, Japan's strategic air force hitting Langkao. It's a supply depot and an alternate Chinese capital. Germany's air force just wiped out that garrison. Japan's tactical air is so frickin' devastating. I mean, the German air is pretty bad too, but I do feel like it's not quite as bad. Like with our anti-aircraft defenses, it does seem like we mitigate the damage a little bit. They still hurt us, but not quite as bad, with perhaps the exception of the armored units, which I assume are uniquely vulnerable to tactical air. They just knocked that tank unit to the north of Moscow out entirely with air forces. German air forces in France are going after our carriers because they have no air groups, but they're attacking with fighters, which is an interesting play. They do no damage at all there. German rocket artillery hitting some Soviet troops northwest of Moscow. Meanwhile, coastal batteries hitting some of our ships off the coast. Haha. The Atlantic Wall is still in place. Armored counteroffensive here near Paris. They just wiped out the Canadian armor in front of Paris. That's great. Just what I want. More casualties I can't afford. Kalinin being attacked by German infantry. They did some damage there, but not too bad. Kubajev, the alternate capital, falls back into German hands. British armor here in central France, badly savaged. And now they're bringing troops forward again. Okay. Those are colonial troops, right? They're down to 1 hit point there. I can deal with troops taking damage. What I can't afford is units being totally wiped out. Those are harder to replace. Meanwhile, the Japanese are now driving on Chungking from the north. They just knocked out a Chinese army or corps or something near Changsha. Also moving on Langkao, an alternate capital there with some Indian troops in front of it. South African troops getting hit south of France. Partisans near Grozny getting hit by German troops. Volkov, a national morale objective, getting hit by German troops, although the Soviets hold, at least for the moment. There's a little bit of a pocket forming near Canton in southern China. Those Japanese troops are completely cut off from any supply. What the hell? Limited counterattack out of Bologna in France. Oh, there goes the South African infantry. So another unit on the Western Front. They're just going to grind me down in France, and that's without even them swinging the bulk of their troops in Russia back against us. I don't know if there's any way for me to win. I think, though, Germany has to take London for us to lose. Otherwise, or at least for a major defeat. We would lose a minor defeat. I could shift all my money into just new units and buffing up England so that they never have any chance. Or if we finish off Japan and take Tokyo, maybe we could win a victory there without defeating the Nazis. I'm not sure. We do need to try and knock Germany out before Russia falls, though, because if Russia falls, one, Germany gets a ton more money, but two, I would assume they would move troops east to finish off China and India. The irony here is beating Japan would only free a large amount of naval vessels. It would not actually free many ground units because my ground units against Japan are getting ground into dust. All right, so we lost the 1st Canadian tanks, the 5th Soviet tanks. Brest-Litovsk garrison destroyed, the 47th Tactical Bombers destroyed, a Chinese corps, the 1st South African corps, the 16th Soviet corps. Japan's probably going to be borderline impossible to land in because of all those reserves they have that they got called up. German battleships are in the north. I don't really care about some of this info. Is that German subs off the coast of Australia? All right, we got a new Canadian destroyer, an American Marine Division, 3 Soviet units, actually maybe 4 Soviet units, and then a new Chinese corps, which we badly need. If we take a look at the reports, Germany is at 127 units. Japan actually has gotten a little bit stronger. They've added 3 new units, but I think most of that was perhaps reinforcements that they get. Why can't I pull these guys down? My carriers have no air wings to send out sacrificially. I guess these guys do. They can send 1 attack out. Oh, nice. We can eat 2 attacks. No, never mind. Air Force got destroyed there. Nice. My maritime bombers don't, I guess, take much in the way of damage. So I'm able to chew up, what was that, 3 enemy scrambles, if you will. Oh, shit. I may have just gotten these guys knocked out. No, there goes the Spitfires. Why does it say 3? Is it another intercept? Their anti-aircraft fire is that good? I'm confused. Why is their anti-aircraft fire so good? I guess their morale and readiness are in the tank. Alright, we'll bring these troops forward here. There's a bit of a bulge forming down here. Pull this Canadian headquarters unit back. 5-3. All right, let's do this. Let's 5-3, 6-3. All right, I'll take the damage. I want to try and weaken. Come on. So these guys attacked. Nice! Finished off that German armored unit just like I hoped. So we got one of the German armored units. We'll bring the Portuguese infantry forward here. Mexican garrison unit to plug the gap. This infantry unit moving forward here. Alright, so I'm just thrilled we destroyed that enemy. Sean Mack, things aren't going great in this war. It's a bit of a... things are not going great. We'll just say that. Leave it at that, right? But we did just destroy one of the German armored units on the Western Front. So that's good. Meanwhile, I've got reserves about to come ashore here at Bordeaux. So new American Infantry Corps. And then an American armored unit here as well. So additional armor is obviously good news. Hopefully the Germans don't break through and destroy the first tanks. I need to reinforce these guys. Same for the first Marine tanks. But I'm building up an armored formation here. They did destroy our Canadian tanks, and these British tanks are in a little bit of a dicey spot. I don't want to take any casualties on these mechanized forces there, so I'll just leave them be. But we're slowly trying to work our strength and our armored fist in Western Europe up. If these guys can survive and I can get everybody reinforced next turn, then I could have 3 level 4 tanks potentially. And maybe some potent other forces. Our infantry is being attrited. Whoops. Nope. But the armor's at least doing okay for now. Meanwhile, these troops are going to land in Palermo, so we'll take Palermo from the Axis, and Sicily, which is a supply or an alternate. Hopefully we'll take Syracuse next turn, which should cut out a little bit more income from them. Nice. Got a little bit of destruction there. Reinforce these troops. I want to swing it down and around these troops at Bologna and cut them off, but the problem is since we know they've got such a large number of troops down here by Rome, that feels like they would counter us pretty easily. Meanwhile, this Portuguese corps may get destroyed by this German tank unit next turn, but we may turn the tide on them also. We might be able to knock another German unit, armored unit out. Thanks for the host, Sean Mack. So I think we'll hold these troops in Italy for now. I don't understand why those guys aren't destroying the German supply coming into these ports. Interesting that their supply is still full. I guess Rome probably generates it sufficiently. Okay. Yeah, rating is 8, so I think that's about as good as they get. I could try and replace Bradley with a slightly better... Well, Bradley, I would argue Bradley's better than Patton, but that's just me. Alright, so what's the... 126 now. So the German strength is going down a little bit. It's not going down as fast as our own, though, and that's the problem. As far as an army commander, Sean Mack, I would argue that Bradley was better. Maybe or at least as an army group commander. Okay. Shifting troops around a little bit here. Mainly since we know there's enemy subs in the area. Okay, so we kind of did the Western Front here first. Taking Palermo should hopefully help. Meanwhile, on the Russian front, we're just going to reinforce the troops on the front line as much as we can. The ones who have taken damage. Interestingly enough, they didn't get adjacent to Moscow this turn. Okay. We have a few new Russian units also. Trying to threaten their rear and supply lines here. Can I reinforce these partisans? I can. You know, I'm going to move these guys into Tehran to protect Iran from that armored unit that's moving down that way. I have new units, so I'm going to go ahead and... I didn't buy these tactical bombers. I don't know where they came from, but apparently I got them. So I'm going to buy that. I think we'll put one of these new units here, one of these corps in front of Moscow or near Moscow. Put another one of these corps... Let's do this. Maybe rather than buy a whole new corps, we'll just reinforce these guys to full strength. So then we'll still have 2 corps up north. I don't know why they're deploying so much artillery up there. 43rd Army. Wonder if we could move these guys in toward here to cut them off. Move in toward Kandach and then try and cut off the troop at Orsk. Also should put a new unit at Perm, which is the alternate capital. Since we've already lost Kuybyshev, we got to make sure that Perm doesn't fall. I think we'll put this other army in near Moscow because we'll probably have to replace somebody. Also, given the enemy didn't break through here, some of these units get some of their effectiveness back and some entrenchments. So that's good news for us. In terms of purchasing, we've got 309 points. Lost a bunch of cores we could try and replace. I'm kind of tempted to go for a shock army. We can afford one shock army, so we'll do that. That'll be ready in December. We'll also get a bunch of mechanized units in October, so if we keep holding out, we'll get some offensive strength in Russia. Meanwhile, Canadian destroyer here. U.S. Marine Division. Probably should deploy that to the Pacific. Alright, 2nd Marine Division. Land there. Actually, it looks like we can move between Peleliu and Bethelthlup, so we should be able to get a second National Morale Center next turn. Unless we might be able to get it. No, we can't get it now. Alright, so we're going to move these guys into Saipan then. As having an extra headquarters unit would be useful, I think. Also, let's upgrade these guys to a level 4 tank. Might as well, if we can. This headquarters unit should increase our supply on the island next turn. So that should help. You know, all these Japanese troops on this island are down to... Well, they still have 5 supply, but their readiness and morale are in the toilet. Also, I'm wondering if we're hurting their entrenchments a little bit. Doesn't look like it, though. I'm going to pull these carriers back east. Meanwhile, bad weather over Guam still. We know he has at least 1 carrier left, by the way. We saw the Akagi. We know he has 2 submarines. We sank his last battleship, unless he's bought anything new. If we take a look at the reports here, Japan has just 3 naval units, so they haven't built anything new. Still just the units we know about. Meanwhile, the 3rd Army can do 1 amphibious strike, so they'll move up to Tinian to help. They're very effective when they land and attack the same turn, or they can be. Same for the Marine forces there. Gonna move our... We still don't have long-range transports. I might have actually forgotten to attack down here last turn. God, my guys have 1 supply. Can't my headquarters do anything for us? I really want to take Batavia out. So I think the plan here is going to be move these guys into the Philippines. Legevsi was open last I saw, so maybe we can land at Legevsi. That's a port. Then we can bring in additional troops via transport and get them right ashore, and maybe we can liberate the Philippines. Japanese morale should go down slightly due to losing another National Morale Center. So they're just over 70. They'll probably be down into the 60s as a result. I'm going to continue holding at Canton because I'm bottling up a lot of enemy troops down here in the south as long as I can hold there. Reinforce the troops in front of Chungking, the capital here. Reinforce these Indian troops here. Again, we're dealing with overwhelming forces. How are these? We're suffering attrition, but the Japanese are not. How is that possible? New Chinese unit, which we can deploy probably near Chungking is the smart thing, the smart play. These guys can't even move anywhere. They're going to get attrited into nothing. I don't even know where I'm supposed to move these guys. All right. Can China purchase anything with 42 points? In theory, a garrison unit. I guess that might be useful in bottling someone up. Second U.S. Marine Division. We'll deploy to Los Angeles. Those guys will be useful in the Pacific. We do need to purchase some stuff. So let's reinforce some of the fighters. Can any of these carriers upgrade or reinforce? Or did I move them all this turn? I think I moved them all this turn. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can do anything else with those guys. It'll be interesting to see if I trigger these guys to pull out of the fortifications or if they'll stay glued to those positions. Because I could advance up through southern Italy as well and take some economy away from them. I mean, I guess the British have 170 points. Let's take a look at research here for the British. They're working on advanced tanks. They've already got 2 investment levels into them, but they're not making much progress there. Same for advanced fighters. I guess industrial technology, does that increase MPPs? Yeah. So it's probably a little bit late to invest in that, but we could use that. The Americans' industrial technology, I'm going to invest in that twice. I know that's a huge amount of money to pour into that, but it needs to get up higher. American logistics, I think that helps with supply, right? Amphibious warfare might be nice to bump it up, but I've already got an investment chit in there. Same for command and control. Ground attack weapons, we don't really have much in the way of tactical air right now for the Americans, so I'm not sure that would be super useful. I kind of think I should pull back the anti-tank investment just because I'm not buying any anti-tank units. So I'll get 50% of that chit back. The tanks are working toward level 5 anyway. And then with the 150... I guess we'll go with production technology. So we'll do that. And that's going to do that for this turn. It's really going to be interesting to see how this next turn plays out. Last turn was bad, but we're getting toward another Russian winter. So maybe that'll hurt German counteroffensive chances. We really don't have enough strength here in France. It's a very hollow force. But anything we can do to hold on just a little bit longer. I'm really just praying for 1946 and the end of the war. But with that being said, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. It was a rough turn in France this turn. Strong German counteroffensives inflicted heavy casualties. I pulled my armor back, planning to reinforce it and then launch a counteroffensive once it's all up to strength and upgraded. Meanwhile, in Russia, we continue to hold. The troops there are doing reasonably well, and the slow, methodical advance in the Pacific continues really unabated and unchecked. We got the Yamato the other turn, so that was great. But until next time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Hope you enjoyed. Leave me your thoughts down below. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you for watching. And until next time, I'm out.